Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a super sloppy sports and entertainment podcast that's hosted by Giant Mess. That's me, the real cinch Neal Lynch. I'm a former fourth-string college quarterback and mediocre middle relief pitcher with an overpriced film and media studies degree. Now I'm a single dad who loves to talk Giants football, Mets baseball, movies, TV, and comedy. On today's episode, we're going to be looking back at the year that was, or the month that was at least. Previous episode was recapping the biggest life updates stories from July. This here ep will be reacting to the biggest stories in August of 2024. I had my fantasy football weekend out in the boonies at PA. Went giving my thoughts on the Olympics because I know that's timely. Drove down to South Carolina to spend the week with my family, which featured a fishing trip where my life almost ceased to exist, almost ended my life. My daughter and I went to Cirque de Paris in the parking lot of a mall, and then I got to spend Labor Day weekend in Block Island with some friends, which was nice. But the biggest story was I was let go from my job due to mass layoffs. So, what went wrong? What went right in the month of August? The dog days of August. So without further ado, let's get it started up in here. August was wacky, man. There's no other way to put it. I did not put out a ton of episodes of the podcast during that time, with the Giants. It's training camp, and training camp is a mirage. It is fool's gold. And so I have banned myself from covering training camp because it doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. all the hype, all the, excitement, all the hope. I've learned over the past decade that it doesn't mean jack squat. You know what matters? December football. And we have not played meaningful December football in 10 of the past 12 seasons. So, Metskis, on the other hand, the Mets were turning things around in August. It started in June, picked up steam. And then in August, we started to see them make their way and threaten for a wild card spot. But I wasn't able to really talk much about them either. Wasn't really able to talk about movies, TV, live, anything because of how crazy August was. Why was it crazy? Well, the custody schedule, for one. The ex and I, we put this marital settlement agreement together. We were prompted by our lawyers to put together like a holiday schedule. And part of the holiday schedule includes, you get first pick of a week-long summer vacation trip with your daughter. This year, then the next year, the other partner gets to pick the week, blah, 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 back and forth. So August seems like a good time to do that, mostly because her summer camp ended the first week in August, which I guess makes sense if most of your counselors, if not all your counselors at summer camp are college, they're probably getting ready to go back to school. So, that after that first week in August, we're kind of hard up for childcare and support there, even though, her family lives in the area. My family does not. So we figured that's probably a good time to take these week-long vacation trips, and we're going to do it back to back. So 1 week, my daughter will be with her mother, and then the next week she'll be with me in South Carolina. Airing dirty laundry. I mean, it's not even really dirty laundry. It's just life. It's life. That's what, life happens. So, that first week in August, I think, my daughter was with her mother. Now, what did I do during that week? Great question. Because I have a question mark here on my show notes. I wish I could remember. I wish I could tell you. Watching the Olympics that was partially it, because I think that was coming to a close. So I was trying to pay a little more attention to it. I was watching on Peacock. So I was really mostly impressed with Peacock's thorough, comprehensive coverage and programming around the Olympics. I mean, I will say the stream would stop or freeze or pause more than I would have liked it to. But the fact that you have the ability and the control to pick which live stream you want to do, and they have recaps and highlight. I mean, it was just I thought it was a really cool experience. I don't know how anyone can keep up with all of the Olympics if you're doing Olympics coverage. In terms of like the biggest stories from the Olympics. The breakdancer. Why is breakdancing an event? I don't know, but that one breakdancer from Australia. I mean, I'm now recording this in December, right before Christmas, right before the holidays. And people are still, like NFL players, when they score a touchdown, are doing the dances that this breakdancer did. So I understand that people were making fun of her, and she did she speak out? I think she spoke out and reacted to it, but it's like kind of cool that, if that's your life's legacy, that you had this really crazy dance routine and people are doing it in honor of you. I don't know if I think I'm being a little too liberal with that term, but I don't know. It's like, if that's my life's work and I guess that's the culmination of my life's work, just don't let it be the culmination of your life's work. I guess the takeaway, like, don't let that be how people remember you. But if is how people remember you, you could be remembered for things that are worse. Being a traitor to your country, embezzling from a charity. It's like there are a lot of worse ways that you can go down in the history books than you had a real weird, wacky dance routine. So I guess I'd take it. I will say this, and this is an old man shouting at the clouds, possibly a boomer take. Too many goddamn events. 3-on-3 basketball should not be a sport. I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, I guess it is. Well, now that I think about it, it's more entertaining because it's half the court. So you have less space to move in. There's not as much transition time. It's a quicker flow. So, okay. But I couldn't really get into it. I know volleyball, there's like 2-on-2 beach volleyball and then there's outdoor volleyball on the sand. And then there's, team volleyball on the hard court. I get it. It's just, it feels different. Now, if you put 3-on-3 basketball outside in the sand, now we're talking. And put them in bikinis, now we're talking. So, I think my note here was put those guys on ice. Like, if you just have a 3-on-3 basketball on ice, now we're talking. Kite riding. Why is that a sport? I don't think we need it. So yeah, I just think there are too many events. Just events where it's like, and what's crazy is like that woman, people might forget her name and her routine, the breakdancer. People might forget her dance or her routine, but she can always say that she was an Olympian. And people will be like, "Oh, what was your event?" That's where it gets a little dicey. It's like, well, I was in breakdancing. Oh, wait, are you the? But the fact that you can call yourself an Olympian as a breakdancer is wild. I think they're gonna have like flag football as an Olympic event. It just feels like, is this really the best measurement of our top athletes in the world? Like, I just don't. I mean, I love playing football. I love playing flag football, but I don't think Olympics when I think flag football. I just don't think Olympics when it's 3-on-3 basketball. These are just like, it's like a pickup game. This is stuff you play in a rec league and then you can win a medal for it. It just, it doesn't jive with me for whatever reason. Kite riding, dude. Like, what the fuck? Some other notes I had here: women's weightlifting. The broadcaster said she's got the best snatch. I'm gonna drop that on your face and leave it there. That comment. She's got the best snatch. Looks like your little sister can outlift everyone in the room. And that weightlifter looked exactly like Rachel Dratch. So it is nuts to think that there are just so many women out there competing at a level that 95% of men could not compete at. So it's like, I don't know if I would call myself a feminist. I think it's a spectrum, right? I guess, I support like female empowerment and all that stuff. That I have my limits though. But to see these women just dominating their events and being so athletically gifted and physically fit, and that's why it's tough sometimes when I have, where the fuck am I going with this? This is just stupid. I'm going to cut that. I'm going to have to cut all that. It's just stupid. I don't even know why I wrote that down. She's got the best snatch. That was what I wrote down. Looks like your little sister can outlift everyone in the room. Yeah, so she looks like Rachel Dratch on the smaller side, but just like the Doug Martin of female weightlifters, like the muscle hamster, just like small but compact and dense muscle. And just knowing that, when I lift with my sister and my brother-in-law, and now my brother-in-law's mother, so my sister's mother-in-law, my sister and my mother-in-law are now, and a lot of men wouldn't admit this. I don't give a shit. They are like out curling me. like bicep curls. As like bicep curls were, not exact. I wasn't exactly like, Hulk Hogan 24-inch pythons. But that's one of the few things in terms of lifting that I could take pride in. Was like, all right, at least, I was doing, there were back in senior year in college, junior in college, like before a party, just ripping off 30-pound curls each arm, 3 sets of 10, 4 sets of 10 before the party, just to get that pump, the flex, that swole. And now it's like, 15s, maybe 20s, maybe 20s is stretching it. And the shocker, the right bicep way stronger than the left bicep. Left bicep is just like, I might as well not have a left bicep. So kudos. I guess what I'm saying is kudos to women's weightlifters. There was also like women's wrestling, just tough ass ladies. Tough. So it's when someone's like sees me 6 foot, 220-pound bag of mush, next to someone who's like 5'3", 130, they just, I guess that's the common misconception, or like, oh, well, this person's bigger, so they're stronger. It's like, no, I'm a sloth. Hello, I'm a sloth in human form. And this person is just granite, carved out of granite and marble, and is a beast. So that's why I don't get in a lot of fights, because I'm like, I have no idea what kind of training, this person looks like, a string bean, but they probably know like 15 different martial arts. So, or they have a gun. So it's like, that's why I don't really involve myself in a lot of fights. If you're recruiting me to get into like a fight, a group fight, you're probably going to lose. I'll fight. I won't be good at it. I could take a punch. I've shown that multiple times, but I will not be, you do not get the advantage with me on your side. The track cycling, men's sprint, I don't understand that sport at all. It's like basically they just start off painfully slow. painfully slow for the first 95% of the race. And then the last like 5 seconds, they go like haul ass and go all out. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Again, how do you get into track cycling? I have no fucking clue. They don't offer that in goddamn high school, at least not in America. I think it's just I don't want to say nepotism, but it's a family thing. Like, oh, your mom and dad were Olympians. They met at the Olympic Village, forgot to use a rubber. You's born. Now you are an Olympian. I think that's just how it works. Because I don't know that unless you're just a kid and you have someone that kind of breaks the mold or is a huge personality in an event and makes that event interesting to watch. And as a kid, you take to it and you're like, I want to do that. And it's like, I guess that's how you get into it and take off. But again, where are you going to do track cycling in this? I don't even know where you would go. Kite riding. Like, how do you qualify to be in the Olympics for kite riding? You'd go down the Jersey Shore and you're out there on the waves and there's like is there a scout on the beach? The Olympics to me are so mysterious and foreign to me. Like, I don't know how you get into it. What makes someone decide, you know what, you could be an Olympic kite rider? You play your cards right. Men's sprint also not based on time or how fast you go. It's just 3 laps. They go super slow for the first 2 laps, and it's the most. I feel like that you know, if Will Ferrell were younger, maybe he still makes this movie, but he could make like a Blades of Glory-esque movie about track cycling. Because it's so ripe and ready for comedic take. 3 laps, they go excruciatingly slow for the first 2 laps, and they're just staring at each other. So one guy's in front, and he's like barely moving forward, and then meanwhile they have to balance on an incline, like on a steep incline, balance on a bike that is going like 0 miles per hour as they're just eyeing each other up the whole time. Wearing these ridiculous helmets that look like the Death Star employees in Star Wars with huge visors. You know, the lower level staff on the Death Star, just eyeing each other up and waiting for the right moment to take off. I don't know. It feels a little weird. Like, why not just go like balls to the wall for 3 laps? It's 3 laps and it's not like huge laps. Very weird. Men's field hockey, kind of got into that a little bit. Very curious to know why men's field hockey hasn't really taken off. Apparently it is bigger around the globe, but it has not taken off. I mean, I know why it hasn't taken off in America, because everyone views it as like a woman's sport. But I mean, it's not far removed from like street hockey, roller hockey. So I you know, I still think it can get pretty, like, can you check in men's field hockey? I think that's what might start appealing to people, is like, well, I can't skate on ice, and lacrosse is just not for me, men's field hockey. And at least I can still be physical and check and hip check and all that stuff. I don't know if you can do that in men's field hockey, but it was entertaining. You know what else grinds my gears? US born athletes competing for other countries. No, dude. No. I mean, the one guy I'm thinking of, I think he's the pole vault champion. He's born in Louisiana, from Louisiana. I guess his mom is Swedish. I don't know if his dad's American. He's American born. I think one of his parents is not American born, or maybe they're both American born, but the grandparents are Swedish born. So he competed for fucking Sweden. Why? What are you doing? I don't get it. Similar with like, I mean, and that, I think that goes, I'm not like tinfoil hat conspiracy guy, but I do have a tendency to go towards the conspiracy side of things. And my conspiracy is that the IOC comes to American-born athletes and is like, listen, we don't have anyone worth putting into this event from Sweden. We know that your grandmother's Swedish. Thoughts? You can win a gold medal, whereas you might medal or you might place, whereas, the Americans, there's just so much competition and you might not qualify. But like Sweden, we got an opening. Like, do you think that is going on? Because I just see it too often. It happens in basketball too, where it's just like, you were born in Iowa. Why are you competing for Nigeria? What the fuck is happening? I know I understand honoring your roots and whatnot, but like, do you go to Nigeria a lot, or do you visit? Like, I feel like there have to be other conditions met. It can't just be like, well, you have lineage from that country. Oddly enough, I had a script idea for an Irish baseball team in the Summer Olympics. I mean, did we even have baseball in the Summer Olympics? Yes. No, maybe so. I forget. I mean, there's too many damn events. But I don't know that Ireland is really known for its baseball, which is why I'm part Irish, 50% Irish. So it was like, I will, exploit this loophole of like, well, you don't have to be born in the country where you're competing, that you're representing. You just had to have some kind of vague connection. I don't know what it would be. You have to be. And so, I'm a disgraced, loosely based on a true story, disgraced college baseball player who either gets kicked off the team or has a falling out with the coach and like, can't play in college anymore, but comes across an opportunity, watching the Olympics. That doesn't make sense. I forget how he gets the idea, but he basically decides to start like an Irish baseball team. And like Ireland has never had a baseball team win or place in the Olympics, something to that effect. It's like Cool Runnings-esque, but with Ireland and baseball. I just had the idea for it. I never really got far with it. I think I wrote maybe a scene or two, like the opening introduction to the character. And then, got distracted and, didn't see it through. A Pierce always sees it through. Christmas Chronicles, shout out Kurt Russell. But a Neal Lynch does not. So I'm trying to work on that in the new year in 25, like having it. And I think I've gotten better about that, where it's like, have an idea, start working on it, finish it. Every year I talk about finishing this freaking screenplay I'm working on now. And every year it just falls to the wayside. This podcast, though, I think is a good example of, I had the idea, wasn't in love with the idea, but I was like, it's a starting point and we'll figure it out, and ended up executing, doing it. And I think if, you go back to July of 2019, when I was first starting, and you look at the videos and the audio and the whatever, I have improved. Is it like a vast, significant, huge improvement? Debatable. Reminds me of that commercial with Peyton Manning where he's on the debate team and he's debating against a small girl. It's very like, was it old school-esque, where Will Ferrell's on the debate team. And she's like, you're not a debater. And he's like, am so. And she's like, is not, am so, is not, am so. They go back and forth. And he goes, am so infinity triple stamp or something like that. And she's like, you can't do infinity step. And he goes, that's debatable. Gets me every time. Other notes from the Olympics. The balance beam, everyone's falling. I think that, I've talked a lot about in the past, like, what is the hardest athletic thing to do? I feel like golf, being able to consistently drive straight and far golf, I think golf has to be one of the toughest sports, if not the toughest sport. Hitting in baseball, very close second. You can make the argument that it's tougher just because of its movement, velocity, different pitches coming at you, whereas golf, it's just on a tee. It's just sitting there for you. So I would say maybe you give the edge to hitting a baseball is tougher. Balance beam has got to be up there. I don't know how these, and like I've said in the last episode, taking my daughter to Gymland and seeing these gymnasts practice, it's like, even with my daughter, like her just trying to walk straight on the balance beam with like her arms out, you can just see her shaking in the fear that's there. But I assume that if you got, I was about to quote Jay-Z, but since the allegations have come out, maybe I shouldn't quote Jay-Z. So yeah, balance beam, everyone was falling. And it's like, and these commentators and broadcasters are absolutely brutal in terms of their like criticism of like, that's just awful. That's the worst. She should be ashamed. Like they just can't. And then they try to backtrack it a little bit. And they're like, yeah, but she's trying and she's pushing through. Handball is like water polo meets basketball meets lacrosse and soccer. I dig it. I think is there handball around here? No. Again, I feel like I would be pretty good at handball. How the hell do I get on the handball and the big team? Not now. My arm is shredded and shot to shit, but I would have loved if someone came to me as a fresh college graduate at 21 and was like, handball? I'd be like, that's a sport? And they'd be like, yeah, and you can go to the Olympics and you can win a medal and possibly get endorsements and stuff. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm in. But no idea how to break into that. And I guess my final note here is that the Chinese are very good at diving. Why is that? I have no idea. But every single one of those divers from China, it's like they enter the water and there's just a little bloop. Every time, just a little bloop. Like they barely, like no splash whatsoever. It's insane. What they got? What's the ancient Chinese secret, huh? Yeah, so that was my review of the Olympics about 15,000 years too late. So yeah, that first week in August, the big story from that was not the Olympics for me, the end of the Olympics. It was getting let go. Son of a bitch. Yeah, I got let go. Mass layoffs yet again. I was only at this job for a year and 9 months. I started like around Thanksgiving in 2022 and laid off in August of 2024. So yeah, it's 8, 9, I was so close to 2 years. I now have not worked a job for 2 years or more since 2016, 8 years ago. 8 years of just every year trying to figure it out. I don't think I should probably go over every single job that I've lost. I already did that in an episode, How to Lose a Job in 10 Straight Years. That was the episode title. So if you're curious about all the deets leading up to, because that I basically, in September of 2022, that's what I recorded that episode. It was right after another mass layoff, where I was at that position with Recurrent Ventures for 3 months, 4 months, Again, should have read the tea leaves and saw the red flag waving in front of my face when, the company that posted the job was not Recurrent Ventures. It was Donut Media, the top automotive channel on YouTube. And they were like, well, we're looking for a contract position, part-time, 3 months or something like that. And I was like, I'm really interested in this job. I think I could help you out a lot. But, I'm hoping for full-time work. And they were like, well, let us talk to Recurrent Ventures, our parent company. And of course, they, were able to sell it through and convince them. And then, 3 months later, I go into the city and I have a meeting. And first thing in the morning, must attend, mandatory, with a guy I've never talked to before and another guy I've never talked to before. Like, cool. So glad I made the trek in to get canned. Supposed to have a date that night. Canceled it like an idiot. Supposed to have a meeting with someone from Facebook to kind of run some stuff by her and see like how can we get the most out of the platform with all the different algorithm changes and whatnot. And I had to cancel that. So, I did a whole episode about, everything that I've gone through in terms of working in this industry, and this one sucked. I mean, anytime they throw the word mandatory, must attend mandatory on it, it's like, this is going to be sweet. I've been down this path before and it ends in tragedy. I get on the Zoom, and at least this time it's like, the SVP who is a good guy, and it feels like he cares. I think he carries himself in a way that makes it seem like he is a caring person. And you could tell that he was emotional about it because he really wanted to see this thing work. But you have 50 people staring back at you, most of them with their cameras on. And as soon as he said it, you have people like covering their mouth, gasping. Someone forgot to turn off mute, and they were like, "What's going on?" Like, and the head of HR, who we like never talk to or deal with, is on the call. And is just like, please mute your microphone. It's like, or what, lady? We're canned. What does it matter? But, I was just sitting there like, yep, happening again. Like, if anyone wants to talk to me about what's going on, I've been through this now 3 times. So I know what it's like. But yeah, so it's 3 mass layoffs in the past 4 years. First one was at Full Screen, where it was on my birthday, I think. It was just like coming off that birthday weekend, my 40th birthday weekend in Philly. One of the better weekends I've ever had. One of the last good weekends I had with my ex. And yep, got canned there. If you're on this call, you're no longer employed, talk to HR. Peace. Like, luckily I had another job lined up. Unluckily, that job ended up being horrific, working with 2 of the worst people on this planet. And I know you're not supposed to talk negative. Like, if you're, that I'm in the job market, I'm not supposed to talk negatively about past experiences. It's just like, well, these are the facts. I mean, the reason why I'm no longer employed there is because I didn't have a great relationship with these 2 people that were in positions of power and authority, and in my opinion, abused that power and authority. But no one can see that or understand that. That doesn't go on their record. It goes on my record that I was let go. And that sucks. But you plow on, move forward. So the Full Screen was the first mass layoff, after SNY. It was Donut Media. We know what happens there. Mass layoff after 3 or 4 months. You're not underperforming, but the portfolio is underperforming. So why are you firing? Like, why don't you just let the people that are underperforming go? Why are you letting the people who aren't underperforming go? Why did you acquire the company to strip it apart? Why do you do that? Why do you continue to do that? Stop doing that. Like, we're going to acquire all these properties and then just rip them apart. How do you freaking live with yourself? Anyway, so that was the second one. And then you have this one. I was able to get this. I was interviewing with them prior to getting the Donut Media job. And I had asked them, like, I do have an offer from Donut Media. Do you think you will be making an offer? I have to make a decision soon on that offer. Will you be making an offer? They said no. Sure enough, they ended up like postponing it, putting it off. I reached back out after I was let go, and they brought me on. And the onboarding experience was great. The people were great. there were like maybe 2 or 3 people that I was just like really got under my skin, but it wasn't like to the point where I'm dealing with them every day. And it had to be something where it's like, I don't know if I can get past this. It was like the core people that I work with directly on a regular basis, I liked. And I think they respected what I had to offer and valued what I had to offer. It was a bit muddy and murky for the first year because it was me trying to get my bearings working with 2 platforms, analytics platforms that I've never really worked with before. Not that I mean, who wants to hear about this crap? Anyway, probably the best working experience that I've had. It really, the people were good people. I think that's what they took so much pride in, is that they hire good people, not a-holes, not jerks. Because it seems like almost every prior position or role, I was working with people that were just, it was tough. So challenging, as they like to say in the corporate speak. It was challenging. But these people, it was just like, flexible, understanding, patient, there were just a couple of people that, it would rub me the wrong way, but like the vast majority of people were really nice and treated me well. So that stunk, there wasn't much, I don't know. There wasn't much of any promise or potential in terms of pay. I think compensation was the one major detractor there. Was like, you started at this salary and you're not going to get much higher than that salary for a long, long time. And that was disheartening when I found that out. But, yeah, as soon as we got on, and it's like all these people on the call, everyone, I mean, like huge, and it's not called an all hands meeting, and it was mandatory, and it was, the duration of the meeting was like 5 minutes on the calendar, like 15 minutes tops. I was like, oh, I got a bad feeling about this. And it's funny because I remember after 4th of July, I had my first one-on-one after the holiday break with my boss, and she seemed really off. Not like, you could almost interpret it as, oh, she's rusty because we're coming off the holiday break. Everyone's kind of slow to get back into the grind. But I noticed that like, it was just, she was off. And I was just like, what's going on here? She's not her usual self. And she's usually very steadfast and consistent in her behavior and demeanor and disposition. And this one was just like different. It was just like, huh. And I remember after that meeting, I was just like, I think layoffs are coming. Because at the end of the December, like 2023, they were like, we are not going to be hiring. No new hires, hiring freeze across the board. All travel we're not having a retreat like we did in 2020, and earlier in the year when we all went to Orlando. We're not doing events. We're cutting back so that we don't have to have layoffs. And then sure enough, I was like, wow, that's really cool that this company has seen the future or forecasted and been like, we want to avoid this as much as possible. And they're taking steps to do that. And that's what I appreciate. And I remember going to my buddy's son's college graduation party and talking to some people there, and they're asking me about my work. And I'm like, yeah, it's really cool that they don't just, lay people off left and right all the time. They're really pulling all the levers, pulling all the strings to make sure that they don't have to do that. And of course, it was literally 2 months later, yoink, we axed. So I remember after that one-on-one, I was not panicking, but I was like on high alert. And I remember going like asking, my chat GPT, what are the best sites or boards for predicting layoffs, and like going down that whole rabbit hole of like, there's actually an app that can talk about, people kind of anonymously share what's going on, and they can give you the heads up or whatever on layoffs. And, so I'm like, I'm setting like Google alerts, Hearst Media, very local, Hearst Television, mass layoffs, like setting that, like there are rumors. And But like looking back on it, what good did that do? That didn't do me any good at all. Like, what would I have done? What the hell would I have done differently? I don't know. What, quit? It's like, you can't lay me off. I quit. So that wouldn't have done anything either. So yeah, I so I wasn't smiling when it happened. I mean, it kind of was jolting. I wasn't jolted by what was happening. I was like, I know exactly what's going on here. But to see the I forget that for people who have never had this happen to them before, to the sheer like horror, terror, fear, stress, anxiety that like swept over almost all the screens I was looking at, all the faces, just like people covering their mouths, clutching their pearls, like, hands to their head. And I'm just sitting there with like my chin on my fist, like, yep, mass layoffs, got it. Like, just, this is run of the mill. It's another day that ends in Y, another year that ends in a number. It's just like this has happened so much in the past 4 years. I mean, is it pandemic related? I guess, I think partially pandemic, partially, I mean, this one might be more AI related. I was I had that concern in the back of my head, like, is AI going to take over our job? And I know that other people are talking about too, like, is AI going to take over my specific job? And I convinced myself, I was like, well, AI is helping for sure. It's helping me do my job better. It's helping others do their job better. But they still need someone to they need human oversight. They need a person to look at what the AI is actually pumping out and say, yay, nay, correct, teach. Like, you can't just fully pivot to AI, no human supervision. But yeah, I think it is dramatically impacting. I think a lot of stakeholders are saying, well, why would I pay this person $80,000 to $90,000 a year when I can just, type a bunch of prompts into ChatGPT or other bots similar to ChatGPT. I use Perplexity because it's free with a LinkedIn premium account. And I can just get a bunch of answers and I can tweak it from there. I don't need, 3 different layers to do all this stuff. So what's wild to me is like that you could have, I don't know, like you have a budget and you think you have all these needs, and then you go on this hiring spree only to fire and lay off like less than a year later. What is going on at the top levels, at the C-suite level and executive level for a lot of these companies? How are you that it's mostly, I mean, I know it's not just media and entertainment, but I think it happens way, way more often in media and entertainment than it does anywhere else. They just cannot get a grip on what's going on. And I think it's all, maybe it's a snowball effect of like, okay, we had these traditional models, cable TV, newspaper, radio, and then internet comes along and disrupts the shit out of the whole industry to the point where you're constantly, these cash cow revenue streams that you used to have are like not gone, but like what you've been relying on. Like hold on. I think I actually looked into this. Like if I go to Google Trends and I type in layoffs and I look at the search trends, at least in the United States from 2004, all categories, there was a major spike in January 2009, right? And that was, that was the economy collapsing mostly due to the housing market and all that shit. The Big Short. Just watch The Big Short. It'll basically tell you what happened when it comes to real estate, housing market, economy collapsing. Then the next biggest spike is November 2022 and January 2023. So how I got a job when everyone else was getting laid off is insane. There were huge search for layoffs in April of 2017. Ironically, that's when I ended up ending my unemployment. That's when I got a job for the first time in like 13 months. And then the next biggest spike is April 2020 when the pandemic hit. And then you have November 22, January 2023. And then the next biggest spike was January 2024. So I guess, Hearst did everything in their power to not have to do these layoffs. But then I see like their job board, their careers page, where they have all these open positions. And I even applied to, another position with another group within Hearst. And they were like, well, it's going to be part-time and it's going to be a 6 months contract. We can't guarantee the hours, no benefits. And there's no guarantee that you will be extended and hired for a permanent position. And it was for like a YouTube manager, channel manager position. I'm saying to myself, like, YouTube's not going away. I know they've lost some market, like share to Netflix and whoever, TikTok and so on. But Jesus, man, it's not going away. You're going to need that. Like, you have to make a case. We're in the year. That's what it drove me, like, it not drove me nuts, but it's frustrating because it's like, you have to make a case, a business case to hire someone full time to manage your YouTube. You have to make a business case for that. That should be like locked. It's not 2004. It's not even 2014. I can just understand if it's 2014. I feel like that's right around the time you saw a lot of top media publishers, brand publishers, entertainment publishers, major media companies start to take to YouTube because they saw all their stuff pirated and published on YouTube and getting big views. And so they started, that's, basically when I started working at Daily Motion, or right around the time I was working at Daily Motion, you could see the shift that, okay, we probably do need to start an official channel and get our minds wrapped around this. It's 2024. I don't understand how you wouldn't feel the need. Like, and they're asking me for revenue projections and forecasts. And I'm like, listen, if the expectation is $1 million in 6 months, I can't guarantee that. Like, I see projections based on what you're currently doing, and it's not close to that. But like, with my help, you could get closer. You do better. And in the long term, yeah, you can make some serious money. But like, it's a long runway. That's why, like, New York Post hired me. They wanted to hire me for 4 months. And I'm like, I can't. 4 months is not enough time. I can show you glimpses, the potential, but is that going to be enough to say, yeah? And they said, all right, we'll give you 6 months. And I was able to show them in 6 months that what I could do and what I could take them. And they still didn't think it was enough. Still didn't have enough budget for me. Wanted to pay me the same amount of money and have me manage analytics and strategy for all their social media. And like an idiot, I said no, when in reality, I should have said yes, even though it was the same amount of pay and 5 times the responsibility and 5 times the work. It's still the most pay that I've had. But I figured, I had pride. And I was like, I'm worth more than that. I feel like you're taking advantage of me. And in retrospect, I should have been like, yes, okay, let's do it. And same thing with Condé Nast. I was on I was a contractor. I had no idea how long a contract lasts. I don't think anyone told me until I was actually let go. And the person was like, yeah, you were on an 18-month contract. And I'm like, well, I'm in month 20. She's like, your contract has ended. And I was like, I didn't even know there was a length attached to my contract. And I had my supervisor come to me and say, we want you to take over branded content publishing and syndication publishing. Like, you were going to assume all of those tasks and duties and responsibilities, which in my eyes, I was like, well, it's because no one else will, because no one else wants to do it. But I do it and I take pride in it. But I know, like, that's not what I want to do. It's just like, I know I want to do a good job. And so, the supervisor offers me that. And I'm like, I took it as a slight, like, oh, you're just giving me the shit work. And like, I don't like, I've told you I want to manage the YouTube channels. And I've proved and demonstrated that I can grow the YouTube channels, but you want me to do this syndication and branded content work, which ultimately doesn't have a lasting impact. I was very like dead set on like, my work needs to have an impact. It needs to have more of an impact. And it's just like, I should have said yes. Maybe still be employed there. Maybe advance through the ranks. Nope. I said no. So let go. What was I talking about? So anyway, yeah, let go. And it's just, and I said, and, so I had the interview with another division part-time, no guaranteed hours. And so I ultimately passed on it. I had the woman that I was supposed to meet up with for Facebook after the last mass layoff that I canceled on. She reached out. We talked about possibly doing a consulting gig for this like network of magicians in Vegas. You want me to come out to Vegas to do like a workshop, and I submitted a proposal, never heard back. I mean, this is like I want to say a third or fourth time I've submitted consultant proposals and never heard back. So apparently I am like way off on what I'm supposed to pitch and my pricing, because I never hear back. So got to work on that. And I think ultimately I was like, no, I can't go to Vegas. I can't. I just didn't think I could. Mostly, if I were single in my 20s, early 30s, before I got married, before I had a kid, I would be all about it. But the fact that like I do have the little one to look after, I could have reached out. I just hate reaching out to my ex and being like, so this is happening. Can we, trade off and negotiate? And it's just that I get very exhausted by that. So passed on that. I passed on going out there. And I guess that they ultimately passed on me because of that. Even though they offered me virtual, they said, oh, it can be virtual. And I'm like, oh, let's do virtual. And they were like, oh, well, no, we're not going to proceed with you. It's like, well, you said virtual. My buddy was also going to be out there with his family in Vegas. So I was thinking maybe I could, do a little twofer, but then it would be a full week in Vegas. I don't know if I could do a full week in Vegas. I don't know how people live in Vegas. I have a buddy that lives in Vegas. We don't talk no mo. My decision, but I don't know how he does it. I don't know how people live in Vegas full time. It's just, I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it because I spend like a day there and I'm like, I'm good. I'm good for 5 years. I'm good. And now there's talk about my other buddy. His wife got pregnant finally. Hallelujah. I don't want to jinx it, knock on wood, but he said she's pregnant. They have been trying to get pregnant for years. She's been doing IVF, the shots, all that stuff. He's been doing stuff to make sure that his stuff is working. And success, great success. Obviously don't want to jinx it, but he did announce it. So the feeling is there's a lot of positivity. And so now we're talking baby moon. You want to get your last hurrah in before you become a full-time parent and are sleep deprived and hating life. So we talked about going to Vegas and going to the Sphere. So I don't know if that'll ever come through or happen, but I think she's due in like, I would say March or April. So if it's going to happen, got to happen quick. I don't know why I brought that up. Oh, Vegas. Yeah, Vegas. So I can't imagine living in Vegas, much less working in Vegas. How do you do it? So yeah, that I guess the timing was okay on getting laid off, mostly because, so I get laid off August 8th. We had to go through all that process of, returning your equipment. So I had to go, my printer's busted, of course. It's such a piece of shit. And it knows I'm talking about it too. You fucking know. So I'd had to go to like some Staples, down on Nassau Street in Princeton to print out stuff to send back. And it was that whole process it's $4 to print a piece of paper. $4 to print a piece of paper. Why, dude? It's just, ugh. That sucked. I know it's $4, but like, it's just, it doesn't need to be $4. No, dude. So, I had to return my work equipment, but the timing worked out because I went down to South Carolina, right after it. So, for a full week, I went with my daughter from like the 10th to the 17th, 18th or whatever. So I guess it was 14. I was planning to go down there anyway, because that was the week that I had my daughter, the week-long summer vacation agreement thing, part of the custody schedule, part of the holiday schedule, part of the marital settlement agreement, that, I get a week with her. My mother, her mother gets a week with her. So I decided to take her down to South Carolina. She loves going down there to visit her cousins. And so I was planning to go down there anyway. And then I got laid off and I was like, well, and now I'm free to do whatever you guys want to do for the whole week. So we drove down. She had a tummy ache and, she just does not drink soda. And I think that's partially because I just don't have soda in the house. I don't really drink soda. I drink like club soda, seltzer, sparkling water. And I just don't have it in the house. And I guess they are doing some like, I don't even know what to call it, fear-based, like, soda will kill you campaigns at school, because she's like, just won't touch the stuff. She has the option when we go out on our dinner dates, like, what would you like to drink? Here's what they have. And she never, ever picks soda. So she has a tummy ache. And, I remember in watching Receiver on Netflix. It's the second straight episode I brought up Receiver on Netflix. It's a good series. Amon Ra St. Brown had like hand to foot mouth disease or something like this. Some crazy sickness, illness where it's like, your hands go numb, or you have pins and needles in your feet, or, you have like boils or scabs all over your skin. It's like really nasty stuff. But his dad, who is a championship weightlifter or bodybuilder, I think, was like, drink Coca-Cola. If you're feeling nauseous, drink Coca-Cola, because nausea was also a symptom. And so they show Amon Ra St. Brown gets some Coca-Cola in his system, and he's out there, he's making plays, he's doing well, but it's like, really nasty illness. So I was like, all right, we're going to stop for a Coca-Cola. And she was very timid about drinking it. She's like, you could tell the gears are grinding, the wheels are turning in her head. Like, is this a test? Are you testing me? Because you've said soda's not good. School has said soda's not good. Are you testing me? What is this? Is this a trap? This is entrapment. Catherine Zeta-Jones dips beneath the lasers. Whoa. Shout out workaholics. But I was like, no, I know normally I say soda is not good for you, but in this case, it is good for you. Your tummy hurts, you're nauseous, the Coca-Cola will help. And so it took a lot of persuasion and convincing to get her to take a sip. And then she does, and she calls it spicy. Oh, this is spicy. It's like, I know what you mean, but I don't think I know what you mean, but that's not what spicy means. It's just like, it's the bubbles. Like you totally, when someone says spicy, like when she says spicy, I totally get what she means, but it's like not necessarily technically accurate. All right, you friggin' dork. Waze took us on a very wacky way. No two ways about that. Drive down took like 11 hours. I mean, the wackiest way possible, to the point where I was like, we're not on 95. We're not even on whatever's the next level down from 95 south, the highway. We're like on like county routes through Maryland, where it's like, I think I'm on like that far arm of Maryland, like on the other side of Chesapeake Bay, not on the side where Baltimore is, on the other side. Like I'm trying to make my way at 35 miles per hour down these friggin', essentially like Route 1, but smaller and more lights. It's like, we're never getting there. So yeah, we ended up getting like Five Guys for dinner. I can't get her to sit on her butt and eat like a meal. like breakfast, lunch, dinner. I just can't get her to just sit on her butt and eat the meal. It's just, I don't know, impossible. We arrived at like 9:30 at night, hung out till like 12:30 in the morning, slept in pretty late the next day. My brother-in-law was working the overnight shift. So when he comes back, in the morning, he needs to sleep. So the whole family goes over to my mom's place, which is in the backyard. I had breakfast over there, which is good. Got some Mexican food for dinner. I drank a PB&J. Is it the first time I've drank a PB&J? I don't think so. Have I talked about it? Maybe. But it's Screwball whiskey with cranberry juice, which you wouldn't think cranberry juice with a peanut butter flavored whiskey would make a PB&J. Oh my God. Apparently you can do hand gestures and things pop up on your screen. I've seen this happen on other video podcasts. I just did some kind of hand gesture where balloons went floated by. So be on the lookout for that. That's ridiculous. And I remember like last Thanksgiving, not this Thanksgiving, this past Thanksgiving, the previous Thanksgiving, when I had a not had a girlfriend, but was seeing a woman who eventually would be my girlfriend. And I lined up like all the whiskeys that my brother-in-law had. And she was just like the trash. I was just like, yeah, just trash. You're going to be like this snobby, snotty, elitist whiskey drinker. Like you can't, like, even though you drink Jameson, which Jameson's good, but like, is Jameson considered like a top level, top notch whiskey? I mean, it's definitely good. I ended up like, she, obviously if you are aware, have been listening to this podcast, she dumped me. And so I had a bottle here at the apartment for when she would come over, and it was full. And I ended up like having that with, some like apple cider sparkling water. And I mixed that with a Jameson. So good. But she just called it trash. I was just like, and then she kind of backpedaled a little bit, but I was just like, wow. And then she would get upset, like, not to keep harping on this shit, but then she would get upset when I was like, I would be not timid, but a little gun shy about answering a question she had for fear of like her being like, that's trash. And I was going over text messages, and it was like, she texted me back once. She asked me about like what chips I like or something like that. And I'm at the point in the text conversation where I've asked her opinions of stuff, or I've given my opinions on stuff, and she's been like trash, garbage. That it's, after a while, it's kind of like, do you like anything that I like? Or like, I just feel like everything I'm putting out there, you are just swatting like Dikembe Mutombo. And so I eventually said like, well, I'm probably going to get napalmed for this, sewered for this, but I like blah, blah, blah. And so she was like, I'm drunk enough to say, I don't like how mean you think I am. And I'm like, okay, maybe don't be so mean. Maybe you need to take responsibility for not being so mean, maybe. So that should have been, I mean, listen, there were plenty of red flags there. You know what? Maybe I'm colorblind. I just don't see red flags anymore. I just see a flag. Like, is it gray? Is it too gray, that flag? Anyway, Screwball whiskey with cranberry juice. Tastes like a PB&J. I fucking like it. She probably hates it. Whatever. Who cares? We ended up watching Anyone But You with Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney. I had been averse to watching rom-coms, especially after getting dumped. I think I put like I suspended rom-coms from my rotation after I got divorced. I was like, there's just I can't be watching this shit anymore, because I think that's why I got into the situation in the first place with my ex-wife. And sure enough, I got into a similar situation with my girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend, where I get rom-com brain. I actually talked to my sister about this, rom-com brain, and where, I grew up loving romantic comedies. And I've said this a million times, but like, I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't really have a girlfriend in high school. I mean, I guess there were times where I thought I had a girlfriend, but like we didn't kiss or do anything that was boyfriend, girlfriend, really. Didn't have my first kiss till freshman year in college. And that first girlfriend experience did not end well for me. And it's just been like it's been kind of I have to like kind of unfuck myself, untangle the ball of expectations and thoughts about relationships that I've developed by watching so many romantic comedies and not being in actual relationships, just seeing these fictional relationships and being like, oh, that's how it works. And like going by those rules, movie rules and guidelines, and not being in actual relationships and working through that. But, you know, so I have rom-com brain. And so after I got divorced, I was like, well, this is not going to be healthy for me. So no hard pass on rom-coms. And then, of course, after I get divorced. So that's a long way of saying I was putting off Anyone But You, even though I've heard a lot of great things about it. You know, we haven't really had a good rom-com in a long time, right? I feel like rom-coms have, at least they have not been released in theaters. They go like direct to streaming. And even then it's like they don't get the shine that they deserve or the credit that they deserve. So this one had been released in theaters and had gotten good response. I think it did well at the box office. Had gotten good reviews from critics and fans. So I was like, fuck it. Let's watch it. And yeah, it like it reignited my rom-com brain. And I was like, this is why I suck at relationships, because I think that even after all the misunderstandings and the mistakes and the slip-ups and the failures and the setbacks and the obstacles, like there's a happy ending and you end up together, and then that's that. They don't show what happens after you finally work everything out, because there is no finally working it out. You're constantly working it out. But it's a movie and you need a conclusion and a resolution. And so it's like they got together, and it's like, yeah, but then shit happens after that you still have to deal with and unpack and unravel. So I talked to my sister about it, and she goes, I was like, I have rom-com brain. I've always had rom-com brain. And I have these beliefs that have been imprinted upon me by watching all these fucking rom-com movies, that I think like, oh, if I act this way or do this thing, she'll fall for me or I'll win her back or blah, blah, blah. And at least now I'm fully acknowledging it, and I'm more aware of it. And I'm like 1% better. Like at least I'm getting better when it comes to the way I think around relationships and romance and all that shit. So, but my sister drops this on me, talking about my ex-girlfriend. She goes, I knew she was up to something because she dyed her hair red and got her nails done on a regular basis. It's just like, wow. It's so interesting to hear the female perspective, because, you know, I had put out that long ass episode about our breakup, you know, going down to Key West for a spring break trip, and, you know, her dumping me on the way back from the airport in the car. And, you know, I think my sister is the one who broached the subject and was like, I still can't believe she did that. You know, you are such a good person. You did it, and, you know, talking me up, hyping me up sister wise. And it was, listen, it's good to hear from someone other than my mom. It's like, yeah, you're a good guy, and like, whatever. So to hear her say like, oh yeah, I knew something. It's just like that female perspective that just did not cross my mind at all. And, you know, I've definitely read articles and sought out advice columns to be like, you know, warnings, you know, I see it on Twitter, warning signs that your girl is cheating or is about to leave you or about to dump you or seeing someone else. And it's like taking better care of herself, working out more, buying new clothes. And it's just like, but she was always doing that. You know, this particular instance, this woman, I can see that with my ex, because it was like she did start to work out more, and I saw her credit card bills where it's like she's spending a lot of money on new clothes, getting her nails did, traveling more. Like, okay, all signs point to, yes, she was cheating on me, even though I was never any real concrete evidence. I will go to my grave thinking that she cheated on me. Sorry. Uh, and to my daughter, if you ever stumble across this episode and you're watching, you're listening to it, I mean, it's not the truth, absolute truth. I'm not going to throw that on you, but odds are, maybe you ask mommy when you're out at the bar, when you're both adults, ask her, yeah, what'd you do? What happened? But with this ex-girlfriend, it was like, she was always dyeing her hair and getting new clothes and self-proclaimed bougie, and she had done 3,000 workouts before I had met her. So I said to her, my sister, I was like, I don't think that's it, but I don't know, maybe. We ended up watching The Instigators with Matt Damon and Casey Affleck, Bing Rames, Hong Chow, Alfred Molina, Paul Hauser, the guy from Jewel, who's a great actor. And I've seen other people post about this, but Apple TV, they have a lot of great TV series that are critically acclaimed. And I think I've always appreciated a lot of their TV series. They make a lot of great TV series. Silo, Bad Monkey, Sunny, Dark Matter. They've For All Mankind, they just have a bunch of Severance, a bunch of awesome TV shows. And then they just throw ungodly amounts of cash at these A-list, I don't know if you can call them A-list actors now. They were, for a very long time, A-list actors. And they throw a ton of dough at them. And then they make these movies that are okay. They don't get released in theaters for the most part, I don't think. And the critics are like, this is passable. And fans are like, yeah, it was all right. But for whatever reason, their movies are just, they can't get to that next echelon of being like really good, really great, really awesome with the talent that they have. It's almost like they're like, okay, we've bought these scripts, or we greenlit this project, but we need to have, we think that the ultimate driver here is the celebrity talent, which I get, and it makes sense for a streamer that is not, trying to make inroads, trying to get more subscribers. I totally understand it, but it's just like, you're now developing a reputation for every movie is going to have an A-list actor or kind of former A-list actor doing a story that's like, okay, that's unmemorable. Instigators is a decent example of that, where it's like, it's some, I really appreciated Casey Affleck in this movie. I thought he had a lot of great moments. He delivered some funny lines. Paul Walker Hauser, that guy. Is it Paul Walker? No, Paul Hauser. Hauser Walker. He's decent in it. But it's just it's like lacking something. I don't know. It's just lacking. It's okay. It's okay, but it's just lacking. So I thought it was okay. I mean, they got me a couple chuckles here and there. Where they're essentially trying to steal money from a banquet, a corrupt politician played by Ron Perlman. Some decent scenes there. I mean, to me, the highlights were, Matt Damon had some good, he's seeing a therapist. And so there was some good I think Hong Chow is the therapist. And so there are some good scenes there, moments there where, he's trying to work through some stuff and going to therapy. And so and then the therapist gets wrapped up in it. And Casey Affleck kind of is attracted to the therapist. And the therapist is like, no, not a hard definitive no, but leaving a little crease open, leaving the window, a door open just a little bit. And so Casey Affleck kind of picks up on that and keeps persisting. And so I thought that was a good dynamic, but it just, Wolves with Brad Pitt and George Clooney. It's not a bomb, but it's I have no desire. I don't know. I don't have any desire to see these two charming dudes, leading men, do whatever the hell the movie's about. I'm sure eventually, if I'm down bad and have nothing in the queue, I might pop it on. But it's just, there's just no desire to see it. It's them being charming / smarmy to each other in their, whatever humor they got going on. It's just like, I don't know. Haven't we seen this before? It's like with Matt Damon, Casey Affleck in this. It's like, haven't we kind of seen this before with The Town? So I know that when they were doing interviews, there was a lot of comparisons to The Town, and it's like, no, this is kind of more light-hearted, supposed to be more comedic than The Town. Anywho, I do like that we have our hangouts in the barn, as they like to call it. My brother-in-law has this huge carport where he keeps like the boat, the SUV, the ATV, the Hellcat. It's just this huge like airport hangar garage. Excuse me. And that's where we go kind of after dinner when the kids are in bed. We go out there and smoke some cigars and drink some good liquor and maybe watch a movie, maybe just shoot the shit. I smoked a fat bottom Betty Gordita from Drew Estates in Nicaragua. And I drank from the kegerator. They had a teal beer in honor of Coastal Carolina, the Chanticleers, or teal. That's their team colors. And I had a garnet red beer, which is obviously the colors of the South Carolina Gamecocks. I mean, it's so funny. And I don't know that my opinion has changed on this, but I feel like once you have a kegerator, you've made it. That's my bar. Once you get a kegerator, you have made it, son. You are a success. And like, once I get a kegerator, that's when I know I'm living the life. That's it. I remember one of my fraternity brothers got one my junior year. His senior year is a year above me. He lived on the second floor. Huge, massive apartment. He lived there by himself. It took up like almost half the floor, probably a quarter of the floor or more. And he got a kegerator. And I was like, man, you're the shit. This is like, that's all it takes. A kegerator. And like, you have made it in my book. So it's just nice. It's just like pulling the lever and seeing it pour out and like knowing that there's, I don't know, you don't have to work. I don't know. There's just something about a kegerator that always makes me think like, wow, this is the life. And no matter how much money I make and how much I could potentially buy and do good with it, it's like kegerator is at the top of the list. Even like a mini fridge in your bedroom. Like if you have a mini fridge in your bedroom, yeah, you made it. Or like a mini fridge, like the couches that have a mini icebox or fridge in like the console in the middle. Oh my God, dude, you made it. I'm a simple man. I'm a man of simple pleasures. What is that song? It was like Jacob deGrom's walk-up song. Simple Man. Yeah, that's me. So, yeah, I mean, I already talked about reading Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, in the last episode. Just wild. If you either go back to the episode, I may post a clip about it, but you got to read it. I don't think I did it justice. It was just off the wall, and I cannot wait for the movie. But so I got to sleep around 10:45, and I had to wake up at 3:30 in the morning the next morning. Why, you ask? Fishing trip. My brother-in-law and I guess my sister and one of my nephews, they're obsessed with fishing. I think I've made note of this before, but like there are times where I go down there and literally, like instead of watching movies or TV shows late night, they'll pop on YouTube and watch fishing videos. And I'm just like, I mean, yeah, this does look cool, but like, are they getting up at 3:30 in the morning? Because it looks like it's midday and it looks beautiful and they look well rested. They don't look like they were up at 3:30 in the morning. So I had to get up at 3:30 in the morning. We stopped at the Circle K on the way to the dock to have breakfast at 5 in the morning. I'm a useless person. I want to be more useful. I want to follow Arnold Schwarzenegger's advice and be more useful. But I'm not useful. I just basically stand around until someone tells me what to do. I have zero knowledge of what it takes to actually go fishing. I don't know how to fish. I'm a child who's wandered in the middle of a movie. Like I'm lost when it comes to most things in life. Pretty much all things in life. And fishing is at the top of the list. I'm just like, no clue what I'm supposed to do. So I just stand around until someone tells me what to do. So I felt like an idiot because I'm there with like 3 other dudes who go fishing regularly and are just like, know what to do. There's like zero communication between them. If there is, it's very quick and short and usually slang or terminology that I don't know. And I'm just sitting there like, do I get on now? So yeah, that is emasculating. It's just like I feel like I'm not a man. I'm not even a boy. I'm an infant. So I was little to no help getting stuff onto the boat, getting the boat undocked. I remember I took a nice little video heading out, the sun rising. So as we're heading out, the sun is rising. So I took like a time lapse video of that, which was pretty cool. And then it was just rough waters heading out. Which I thought, even though it felt like we were in the movie The Perfect Storm, where it's like, you know, that from the scene from the trailer, if you've seen the trailer or if you've even seen the movie, where like it's a fairly smallish boat, fishing boat, but there's this monster wave and you can just see like the boat like getting vertical going up this monster wall of a wave. Wasn't exactly that, but it definitely felt like similar to that, where it's like, oh, like we're almost vertical, or like we're almost on our side right now. But I wasn't freaking out, oddly enough, because I didn't see anyone else really freaking out other than, you know, it's like, make sure the little guy, my nephew, who was, I guess, 7 at the time, like, make sure he's got a life jacket on. Make sure everyone has a life jacket on. It got to that point. And I was like, but this is normal. And no, I come to find out after we got through that whole rough patch, it was like, wow, that was crazy. I didn't think we were going to make it through. I thought we were going to capsize. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, that wasn't normal? Like, that doesn't happen all the time? We almost got dumped into the ocean and had to call for help? Cool. And then I think, you know, I didn't catch a damn thing. No one really caught anything. My nephew caught the same stingray twice. Like, isn't this, or is it a skate? I don't know. I don't think it was a stingray. It was a skate, which I guess there's a difference. But it's like, if you're that skate, hey, man, better times are coming. Okay. There is a future. There is hope. What was that campaign? It gets better. Hey, skate, it gets better. So caught that skate twice, sent him back. I ended up just taking a nap on the ride back. We were back home by 1 o'clock. It was rough sledding. There was just nothing to be had out there. The conditions sucked. And so we called it. But I ended up taking a nap on the ride back. And I'm sure, you know, after not knowing what I'm doing, not being useful or helpful, not catching anything, then taking a nap, it's like, yeah, really winning a lot of brownie points with the rest of the crew here. Like, I doubt anyone's going home being like, oh yeah, that guy's a solid bro. So I ended up getting in the pool with my Apple Watch and playing in the pool with the kids. And my God, I almost drowned. Like, these kids, I don't know, it's 11-year-old, 7-year-old, my 5-year-old, and then a 3-year-old. 4 kids on one dude. And I just couldn't get my footing. They were just like pushing me under, keeping me under. And it was just funny because it was like, I wasn't full on panic, but I was a little worried. That was like, okay, they're not letting up. And I'm barely getting enough air when I come up for air. And their father is on the side. Like, there was no one around the pool. It was just me and the 4 kids. And they're like, they think they're playing and having fun. And I'm kind of playing it up. But at the same time, it's like right on the precipice of getting very serious and very lethal and deadly. And then my brother-in-law's friend shows up. That was completely awkward. Like, he just was like not talking to me at all. And I was just like, okay, like, I'll just go back to playing with the kids. Like he was there, I guess, to pick up something from my brother-in-law. And so they were having a chat and they're talking like nice and casual about stuff. And meanwhile, I'm like drowning in the pool because these 4 kids think I'm playing around. And it's like, I am playing around, but at the same time, like it's getting a little out of hand and I'm going to push the eject button. So that was crazy. And then my Apple Watch just stopped working. I had it for about 4 years. Got it in like, I want to say the fall of 2020, probably for my birthday, I think. And stopped working. So I guess they say it's not waterproof, it's water resistant. I always thought I never wore it in the water ever. And I remember looking on, I was looking at reels or something on Instagram, and one of my buddies, he was on a boat with his Apple Watch and he went swimming with it or something like that. And I was like, man, I commented, I'm like, I'm kind of like worried and concerned and scared that, I don't know if I can I won't even wear my watch in like the shower. It's like, I just don't want to get any water on it. And sure enough, I go swimming and it's fucked. It's like, I always thought that you'd have to go dive to like 20 feet, 30 feet. You'd have to be in the ocean. You'd have to nope, you just have to be in the pool for an hour. Cool. So that sucked. I remember I went to the Genius bar and the guy was like, yeah, it'll cost you the same amount or more for us to repair or fix this. First of all, he said he didn't know how to fix it or repair it. And he's like, even if I send it off to get repair or fix, it's going to cost you more than it is to repair or fix it than it is to get a new one. I was just like, what the? But you guys said it's water resistant. I was just in a pool. And yes, I was like on a boat where I was getting sprayed with ocean water, salt water, but it wasn't like I was underwater. I was just getting sprayed. Ocean spray, ever heard? So that sucked. Overall, a decent trip. I did. I think it was nice to have some quiet adult time after the kids go to sleep. Like I think this was the trip where we watched The Land of Bad. Land of Bad. Yeah, this came out. When did this come out? It's an action thriller. It released in February of 2024. But it then got onto Netflix. It did not do well at the box office. It grossed $6.5 million worldwide, which is so dumb because it's a really great movie. But then it started streaming on Netflix in mid-July. So I was like, oh, I think because my brother-in-law is ex-military, he's ex-Navy. And so I thought I'll hold off on watching it so I can watch with him. And so we ended up watching it out in the barn in the airport hangar while drinking and smoking cigars. And it took us forever to get through it because we kept pausing it. It kept on like bringing up things like he would bring up things like, oh, that's realistic. That's not realistic. I don't think that would happen. This is crazy. And, we would pause. And then on this TV that they have where they pause, their pictures come up, a slideshow of like all their pictures. And so we would start looking at that. And I would, be like, oh, what's the story behind this? And my sister and brother-in-law would say, oh my God, this picture, I know it looks like this, but actually so-and-so had diarrhea and so-and-so, we lost this person got hit by a seagull. It was just like all these crazy stories that just by looking at the picture, you would have no idea all this bad shit was happening because everyone's smiling. It's like, that's why pictures, I always, for the longest time, wouldn't smile for pictures, because I was like, that's not how I actually feel right now. This is not, or I'd think like, oh, smiling is the normal thing to do. Everyone smiles and I'm not going to do it because I want to be different and stick out. And it's so stupid. But every picture that they came up on the screen, they had a cool story for. And I remember just sitting there and being like, man, you guys have built quite the life. You've lived a good life. You've led a good life. And then I kind of trailed off and looked off in the distance and they were like, you good, bro? So yeah, I'm not hiding my jealousy or envy for them at all. I think they, despite how chaotic it can get down there, with all the kids and the animals. I mean, God, the chickens, the peacocks, the the cats, the dogs. That they it seems like they lead a very full, fulfilling life. Um, but Land of Bad, highly recommend. You know, it's got Russell Crowe, Chris Hemsworth doing some good things. The dude from This Is Us, Milo Ventimiglia, whatever his name is. It's kind of like a modern day version of Behind Enemy Lines with Owen Wilson. Amazing action sequences, just top notch fighting choreography and sequences. The story itself is great. And Russell Crowe has some funny moments here and there. It is insane that, like, I don't, you know, if you haven't seen it, I don't want to give too much away, but like that you have like this one guy. He's Russell Crowe is like what, in his 50s, I want to say mid to late 50s. He's having a kid. I don't know if I would want to have a kid at that age. Ooh. But he's having a kid and he's expecting a call, you know, about his wife going to labor so that he can get someone to replace him at his post. He's a drone pilot. Get someone to replace him at his post so he can go and be there for the birth of his child. And he makes that announcement to the guys who are watching March Madness, you know, and you have the one guy who's his superior, who's a Tennessee Volunteers fan, basketball fan. So they're watching March Madness, they're watching Tennessee basketball. And so they're engrossed in that, but like he's on this mission. It's a very important mission. And he has the birth coming. And so he's pleading with them, hey, like if this phone rings, you have to come get me. Like I'm expecting a kid. I want to be there. And for them to take that phone off that damn hook, dude. Oh, mwah, such great storytelling. I mean, I just can't. It's hard for me to believe that would actually happen. But yeah, I guess that could actually happen. It's plausible. And so, I don't want to give anything away, but they did a really great job of like, we have this, obviously, this very apparent primary antagonist, villain, terrorist character who was, they gave a little depth to. I feel like they could have done more to give more depth to that character. I think they did give him pretty decent motivation and motive. And there were plenty of times where it's like, there's no way they're getting the fuck out of this. And also, why aren't they just, they're held hostage? Why aren't they killed? But I guess that's leverage. Anyway, but to have this kind of secondary antagonist it's basically Russell Crowe's primary antagonist, played beautifully by that actor. I forget his name, but he reminds me of, I guess, is his name Steve Lemmy from Broken Lizard? Kind of that same vibe. But he did a great job. So Russell Crowe was cool. And I thought it was, there was a little bit of a tear jerker moment towards the end where, his about partner, but not co-pilot. Maybe it is a co-pilot, but they sit next to each other as they're droning away. And, he asks her a question, or she asks him a question, because I guess she's getting married. I guess you can see where this is going. I already spoiled it, but it was a very emotional, tearjerker, heart-wrenching moment. Not heart-wrenching, heartwarming moment. Heartwarming moment. You can see where my head's at. So yeah, Land of Bad. Crazy that it did not get a theatrical release. I'm wondering why it did not get a bit, and it was dumped in one of the worst months for box office, February. So interesting. Yeah, I wonder if you get like, goddamn, I kept saying Chris Hemsworth, didn't I? It's not Chris Hemsworth. It's friggin' Liam Hemsworth. My bad. So maybe that's why. If it was Chris Hemsworth, maybe it does get a theatrical release. But I thought it was fucking awesome. I'm sure they took a bath on that, but maybe they'll make up for it in Netflix revenue. I know it was in the top 10 for movies for a long time. And everyone I've talked to about it loves it. So if you haven't seen it, give it a shot. But in summation, my daughter took a fishing rod to the face, a kick to the face, closed the door on her fingers, had some kind of mysterious marks on her face, like she was aggressively drinking out of a large cup. You know, when you drink out of a large cup as a kid and like you probably go at it a little too full bore, a little too aggro with the pushing it up against your face, and you get those like smiley Joker Heath Ledger lines, smile lines. She had that going on, and she also got scratched by a cat. So it's always she always gets dinged up and nicked up when she goes down there to South Carolina. It's rough and rowdy down there in the South, you know, living on the farmland, you know. And I fully expect it now. I'm like, I'm going to go in there. She's clean, no marks. And I know that she's going to get some war marks when she's down there. But that's part of life, right? And you get stories from it, I guess. So hopefully there's some understanding there that it's not negligence on my part. It's just the fact that it's just chaos. So yeah, I managed to watch the Umbrella Academy once we came back from the trip. Watched Umbrella Academy. It was the final season, and I liked it. I wasn't a huge fan of how it ended, but it was kind of like, how else are we supposed to end it type of thing. It's like, all right, well, we know that this is it's not like we're hoping to get another season. We know that this is the last season. We have to land the plane, quote unquote. And I wasn't crazy about how it ended, because it was like, I hate the idea that, well, you either watched it or you didn't. So if you haven't watched it, watch it. If you have watched it, what the hell, man? I hate when it's like, well, ultimately what ends up happening is they determine, or what's his name? Five, the youngest of them all. Well, the youngest looking of them all. He's actually the oldest, but he looks like a teenager. Like, he determines that the Umbrella Academy is the problem. And if like they were never born, something to the effect, like if they were never born and came together, none of this would be happening. So the plan is like, if we are taken out or eliminated, things will reset and things will be better if we didn't exist. And I was just like, oh, I don't like that at all. But I guess it's the moral of the story there. The lesson is like sacrifice. They did the ultimate sacrifice. That's like the ultimate hero shit. And so I guess they're still born, but they never know that they became a family or became a team. And so they go their separate ways. Maybe that's it. But essentially it was like, it wipes out like everything that they did. Just wipes everything out. And it was like, I can't imagine having the balls to do that, the spine to do that, to go through everything that they went through, and then to say, well, the only solution here is to wipe it all out. All the hardship, all the conflict, all the overcoming setbacks and failures, and saving the world this time, saving the world that time, saving, and all the good you've done, it's just wiped out from the ledger. Like, I guess that's why I could never be like that's probably why I could never be like a secret agent. Or like I will never have security clearance, is because I would be like, well, you know, I killed bin Laden, right? It's just like, I would eat me up inside. So I am thoroughly, I would never want to do it, but I'm thoroughly impressed by the people who can live their entire lives with all these friggin' secrets, harboring all these secrets. And taking everything to the grave, dude. Like your whole life, all your milestones, achievements, accomplishments, and it's all up here. You're just all gonna keep it up here. Damn. I don't know how you do it. I can't even keep my mouth shut when it comes to like my job history. So yeah, Umbrella Academy. But I guess I didn't like, I'm not a huge fan of that ending. But then they kind of went into like the, what's it called? They played a song, I think it was from Green Day, time of our lives type of thing, where you look back, like the same thing that happened at the end of Deadpool and Wolverine, where they're putting up behind the scenes pictures of all the cast as when they were younger in the first X-Men movie, and then, going through all those videos behind the scenes videos and photos of like the cast, like having fun and filming and like getting along and joking around. And like all the emotional moments and being sentimental at the end of Deadpool Wolverine. They kind of did the same thing with the end of Umbrella Academy, like looking at, Time of Our Lives is playing or something to that effect. And, I thought that was a nice touch. It's like that eased the blow of like, wow, so I just spent all this time watching all of this friggin' series and it doesn't matter. And I guess you could say that about any real TV series. You could just be like, yeah, I get it. I've wasted my life watching this story that is not real. It's like, you could say that about any series, be like any movie, any franchise, anything that's fictional. You'd be like, I just invested all my time, energy, effort, and emotion into these people, places, and things that do not exist and have no bearing on real life whatsoever. And I spent all of my life doing that. Spiral. So, but that did ease the pain of like, wow, I just spent all this time watching this friggin' series and none of it really mattered. So this week, the week coming back from South Carolina, I did not have my daughter because I had her the previous week. And so now she's with her mother for the whole week. And it was, when I was with my girlfriend, this was supposed to be the week that I was going to go down to Tampa with her. And I was like, oh my God, I love Tampa. Oh my God, I love my girlfriend. Oh my God, this is going to be amazing. Two of my most favorite things in one. What? Life is, does it get any better than this? And no, it does not. She, obviously she dumped me and I did not go down to Tampa. But so what I ended up doing was I had that fantasy football draft weekend coming up where we were going out to this huge house in Pennsylvania, the whole fantasy football league, 14 of us. And I wanted to prepare for it. I was like, you know what? I know we're going to golf and I know we're going to play poker and I need to get better at those two things. So I basically spent this entire week just at the driving range, 3 buckets a day, every day, almost 2 hours a day, I want to say, just hitting golf balls. How did I play? Like shit. I still played like dookie. I felt so good on the driving range. I was like, man, I think I finally got it this year. Like I'm hitting with distance, I'm hitting with accuracy. And then you get out there on the course and I was called Grandpa. They called me Grandpa because all I would do was I would either shank it to the far right. Is that a slice or a hook? Yeah, it's a slice. So I'd slice it right 9 times out of 10, or I would hit it dead center, but it would go 160, 170, 180 yards. Everyone else is like smoking the ball, 250, 240, 250. And then they're like, oh, here comes Grandpa. I would lay it up on a drive, 180 yards. People think I'm joking when it comes to my manhood and like my man card. My man card was revoked at birth, dude. I think everyone pretty much, the doctor spanked me and was like, oh, this guy, no shot. Should we just, I know we're past the legal limit here, but like we all know what's in store for this sack of shit. So no, it did not play well. Although that being said, it was the best that I have played. Barring, earlier in the month, I went to, I think it was Galloping Hills with my buddy who lives in Maplewood. And we played a 9-hole round with these 2 randos. They paired us up with these 2 rando guys. And I actually was, I did not shank the ball, slice the ball that much. I was hitting it straight with some decent distance. It was the best. That's the best I've ever golfed. And we played with these 2 randos and you're not supposed to bring whatever onto the course. And of course I did. And it was these I think it's called Nectar. these like hard, they're like hard seltzer drinks called Nectar, and they have these really weird flavors like Yuzo. Nectar drinks. I don't even think it's called Nectar. Yeah, Nectar hard seltzer, and they have like lychee is a flavor. Ooh, koi, passion fruit orange. Unique Asian flavors, no weird aftertaste. So, ling hing mui, pineapple, mango melon, green grape, Asian pear, lychee, jungle juice. So yuzu was the one that I was particular for that I liked. And I remember giving this guy, he was like, "Where's the cart, girl? Where's the cart, the drink cart?" And they were nowhere to be found. And so I was like, "Well, I brought drinks. Would you like one of mine?" And he was like, "Yeah, what do you got?" And so I showed him, and he was like, "Oh, okay." And I gave him one, and I think he he took one sip and like ditched it. So I was like, great. Yeah, he did not ask for another drink after that, because I had plenty. I was like, "I have plenty. Do you want one? Do you want one?" And I kept asking after that. He was like, "No, dude, get your friggin' weird Asian drinks away from me." So I also spent way too long. This is another reason why I didn't really record. So one of our buddies, there's every fantasy football league has a punishment, right? You have a punishment for the guy who finishes in last, and so this one guy that is in our group, he finished last, and so he had to make a video, and so he decided to make a video about another guy in the league who there have been rumors that this certain gentleman likes to eat mayonnaise like right out of the jar. So gets a jar of mayonnaise, either fresh from the store or out of the fridge, opens it up, untwists the cap, takes out a spoon, and just spoons mayo into his mouth. Like there have been multiple tall tales of, in the fraternity house, this guy late night after a party, 2:00 in the morning, 4:00 in the morning, sitting on the couch or in the recliner. So one of his brothers comes in and sees him eating mayo straight from the jar. So this guy finishing last decided, I'm gonna, you're supposed to make a presentation or something to that effect, like a video. And so his idea was like, we're gonna make a video about this guy, like tales. They can be either true or they can be fictional. They just have to be funny about this one brother eating mayonnaise out of the jar with a spoon. And so the deadline was like the first weekend in August, and like no one had submitted any videos yet. So I decided to take it upon myself to film a video where I impersonated everyone, did like parody characters or impersonations of a guy in the league. Threw that together, ended up being like, we're supposed to submit like a 1 minute long video. And of course I submit like a 6 minute long video. I submit it and he's like, "This is great." And it actually gave me some ideas. And so then ended up spending like way too long. I want to say the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. He filmed some segments. He got some other brothers to film, some quick snippets. And then I had to and then I basically spent the majority of my time editing this video. And it was like, ended up being like 13 minutes long, 12 minutes long. And he gave me some good feedback, but there was a lot of I put my heart and soul into that friggin' thing, blood, sweat, and tears. And then he was like, "Yeah, but he still was kind of, I don't want to say nitpicking, but he was still like very peculiar about what he wanted." And I was just like, dude, I don't think that's going to make a damn worth of difference. And of course, the day that we're supposed to show the video is when I sent him the final file, but I had also sent him, previous iterations, previous drafts or rounds. He ends up playing the wrong video. So I was up late the night before. Like I had to get up early in the morning to go pick him up, to go golfing. And I was up late the night before, the previous night, finalizing this video with all of his feedback, making sure I'm checking all the boxes, crossing it off the list, making sure that everything's right that he wanted. And then we didn't even play the final version. We played like another version. And he was like, and then I said, as it's playing, I'm like, oh shit, I realized it's not the right version. And I call him over. I'm like, hey, it's not the right version. He was like, whatever. And I'm like, wait, what? You were the person giving me rounds. We were going back and forth over, texts, email, and it was a healthy conversation for sure. But ultimately, I was like, I don't think any of this is going to really matter or make a difference. And then we ended up playing the wrong version. He was just like, oh, okay, whatever. And I was just like, well, you weren't like whatever. You seem pretty adamant about all these different notes that you were providing. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm not cut out to be a friggin' video editor. Golf, dude. Fivesome is bad etiquette. Why? Why can't you just have like a 2, and a 1? What? I just don't like. Golf has so many so much etiquette going on, and there's a damn near 100% chance that you're gonna do something and slip up and have a faux pas, because golf has the most etiquette out of any friggin' sport, that you're gonna break some unwritten rule. I mean, I still had a great time. I mean, there was a time, I was smoking, we were smoking cigars, knocking back some hard seltzers. So I was in a good state of mind. It does affect your game. Shocker. I hit a ball that was on target online, but it went over the green, and I thought it went into the woods. So I'm looking through the woods. I find something in the woods, a ball. It's not necessarily my ball, but I'm like, I guess this must be it because I can't see anything else. And so I drop it, I hit, and I ended up like 4 putting or whatever. Like I was the closest to the pin to start. And then it took me, I 5 putt or whatever. And then someone else is like, is this your ball? And it was like right on the fringe of the green, like right in the rough. But it must have been in some deep rough, and I didn't see it. And I was like, yep, initials NL. That's mine. So what do we do here? And it's just, no matter how hard I try, I'm going to screw it up in epic fashion, whether it's golf or trade. There was a trade that went through that I didn't intend to send, and it gets accepted. And I'm like, shit, like this has happened before. Like I'm that guy in the league. Like I'm going to screw up something big that's going to ultimately mess everything up. And to unwind it would cause such a headache that people are just like, I'm now at the point where I'm like, just don't tell anyone. So if you are in the fantasy league and you hear this, that trade that went through, I didn't mean to send it, but I didn't want to cause a stink. And I guess luckily the guy didn't end up winning the championship, but he did get in the playoffs. I think he was going to make the playoffs anyway. So whatever, dude. I played pool. I still suck at pool. I played poker. Still suck at playing poker. I had an ace and a 10, and I lost. I had pocket aces twice. Went in all in twice. Lost. My buddy on the drive back, he was just like, yeah, I always know when you have a good hand because you actually, continue betting. And I'm like, but what? You also told me last year that I shouldn't bet bad hands. What is it? And I never thought I was that transparent with my emotions and my facial expressions, but apparently, oh yeah, big time, dude. Everyone can tell. We also shot BB guns, and like, I can't shoot worth a damn. We played bocce. I was the worst bocce player by a long shot. So, I just, I don't think, I mean, I just don't got it. I think, it's like if you were to rank every guy in that fantasy league, I am dead last by a long shot in everything imaginable. Fantasy football, bocce, poker, pool, shooting guns. Like it just doesn't matter. No matter how much I try, it's like, I don't even know what I'm doing in this league. Like, why do you keep me around? And I know why they keep me around, to take my money. So I get it. But I'm going to pause right there because I had to pick up my daughter. We'll resume this later. This house we were staying in for this fantasy football draft weekend was humongoid. So, I mean, there was a 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 bedrooms upstairs. Another Was there a bedroom? Yeah, there was another, maybe one or two, maybe three bedrooms on that main floor. And then the basement, there were some like, you could classify them as bedrooms, 3 or 4 bedrooms downstairs. I made the mistake of picking the one bedroom that had 2 beds. So it was my buddy who I picked up and drove there, who I made the video with. I took the one bed closest to the door, and then I forgot that he's a snorer. So, like, that first night, we ate so much friggin' food. We had pretty much a similar situation to last year where, our buddy from Maryland made his famous crab cakes. So good. And tons of other food. One of the guys, his FaceTiming with his son, and his son was just playing like the piano. What was he playing on the piano? Oh, it was so good. And I forget what it was. I think it was Billy Joel or something like that. And it was just so good. I'm just sitting here like my mouth just overfloweth with food, being like, oh, that's amazing. But so by picking the bed nearest to the living room, guys stay up. Like I was passed out by like 10 o'clock. I sat on the couch after I went all in and busted in poker, lost a hundo, and then sat on the couch to watch like preseason football. It was like barely staying awake, passing out at like 10:30 at night. So I don't think I lasted much longer than that. I went up to bed. It was a long day. I was up at 6. And of course, because I'm old now, the bladder can only hold so much before it's got to be let loose. So, and it didn't help that there was a couple brothers that stayed up way late. Like, I want to say it felt like it had to be like 4 a.m. And so I guess they must have woken me up, and I was like, oh, I got to piss like crazy. There is a bedroom on that floor that I was on, but like the doors are closed and you have to go through someone's bedroom to get to the bathroom. So I was like, I don't want to wake them up. Like open. It's weird to like, everyone's sleeping, open this sliding door and like go into their bathroom, piss, and I don't know. So I decided to go downstairs in my undies, my underoos. And, it's my one friend and the other friend, and the one guy is just like raging. Like he is in full party mode and is like basically peer pressuring the other brother into doing shots. And he's like, Neal. And I'm like, I'm pretending like I don't hear him, and I go to the bathroom. But as I'm going to the bathroom, I walk by, there's another guy on the couch sitting like I was, completely assed out on the couch, snoring like with his ear maybe a foot or 2 from the TV, which was blaring volume. Like, you get to that's the typical volume for 4 a.m. rager, is just like obscenely loud. And this guy was sleeping right next to the blaring TV. So I pee it come out, and the guy's like still peer pressure me, like, hey, come on, you. I mean, name calling, and I tell you, I'm a sucker for peer pressure. So I was like so close to caving in and be like, all right, let's just do it. Let's do shots. But I was like, nope. I didn't even say anything. I just I wagged the finger, just gave a wag, just waved them off. And he like laid into me, and I was just like, I'll take it. Cause I can't do it. I gotta be fresh, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for tomorrow, because tomorrow's a draft. Next day, our buddy made his same as last year, the egg, bacon, and tater tot casserole, which was just so friggin' good. I ended up picking up wings and pizza from this place called Fratello's Bistro. It's like a 15-minute drive away. Still way too many leftovers. Still ordered too much. I don't understand it. We had like 12, 13 dudes, and I ordered way too much last year. And I was like, I'm not going to make the same mistake. Okay, not everyone's going to eat 4 slices. I'll be lucky if they eat 3 slices. So if there's 13 of us, say there's 2 slices each, that's 26. So I think I got 4 pizzas and it's still too much left over. I don't get it, but I guess it's because we had, the humongoid breakfast and then we also have the monster dinner. So it's like, it's just too much food. We don't need it. We're better off just getting, I don't know, snacks for the draft. But is that weird? Like you just draft, it goes hand in hand with pizza and wings. So do we not have our guy make the amazing breakfast? Yeah, so we ended up playing the video. Got some good reactions, which I was happy with. Some laughs here and there. It's still probably a little too long. It dragged in some spots, but I didn't really leave any room for laughter, which is a mistake. I ended up drafting. I got a D- grade, and sure enough, they were spot on. They were like, "You're going to win 2 games this year," or maybe they said 1 game, and I ended up winning 2 games all year. So it's like, "Yep, you nailed it." But what I ended up doing at the trade deadline was, I was like, "All right, if I win this game, I'm going to push forward and try and trade, be a buyer. And if I lose this game, I know to sell." And unlike the Giants, who had 2 wins at the trade deadline and didn't sell last year or this year, I was in full sell mode. And I got myself a pretty decent haul back. And I had a potential to get 2 more trades going. And just, no one cares about fantasy football, Jesus. So I love, my favorite part though is late night. Friday night, I couldn't really do it. I just couldn't muster the energy. But like Saturday night, I was like, I am in it to win it. I had my edibles. I had the edibles that give me energy, like the sativa. I had the, someone else gave me an edible. And then I had like THC beverages, like drinks infused with THC. And I was coasting. And we were gathered around a fire pit, had some great conversations about the Mets, about all kinds of good stuff. And then somehow the subject turned to circumcision. And it was crazy. It was like I had the one friend on one side, I had another friend on the other side. The one friend was the subject of the video, the guy who eats the mayo out of the jar, straight out of the jar. And I remember we were playing. So before that happened, we're playing poker. We're all sitting around playing poker. And he like tears up and starts talking about how it's the most amazing thing that anyone's ever done for him. He's so moved by it. He felt like it was so special. He told his mom about it. I was just like, whoa, I was not expecting that kind of reaction. But I was like, all right, cool. I made this dumb thing that's pretty funny and he took it to heart, which is cool. So he's, late night, he's sitting on one side. And then our other buddy, who's also quite the comedic mind. It's like I got this big goofy guy on one side. I got another big silly guy on my other side. We all played football together at one point. And circumcision enters the chat. And it's just like, I'm not going to give you a ride to the airport tomorrow. Oh, yeah, well, I'm not going to. I'm defriending you on Facebook. It's like, what? What's happening? Over circumcision. Neither of you have a kid. Neither of you have a boy. Why is this becoming such a battle royale right now? It was not. And I'm right there, square in the middle. I'm literally the middleman trying to like hear each side of the story, each point of view, and trying to be like de-escalate everything, be like the mediator on this impromptu circumcision debate. And then it goes from that to we're playing with like lasers and smoke, the simple things. I'm a simple man. I am a caveman. I'm not complicated by any means. So, that's all you need to give me: lasers, smoke, and edibles, and we're good to go. So yeah, that ended up being kind of a late night. We had to be out of the house by like 10 or 11 the next day. I don't know if I ever mentioned this. I think I might have mentioned it in a previous episode, but so I picked up my daughter and it was just like, I know it's a glorious, beautiful day. Okay. The sun is shining, not a cloud in the sky. It's not too hot. Like, I understand that you were probably dying to go to the pool, to go outside, to do anything. And I do not have it in me today. So I think I ate like an entire bag of chips, an entire bag of popcorn. Like, I was just feasting, fat kid day to the extreme. And we ended up watching Back to the Future Part 3 and trying to explain any of the Back to the Future movies to my daughter. It's a lost cause. Like, I can't even do it to an adult and make it make sense. And so to do it with her, I was just like, okay, so that's like Biff from the future. And he went back to the past and he's talking to his younger self. And so there's 1985 and then there's alternate 1985. And she's just like, what? I like Marty. Like, yeah, everyone loves Marty. And again, no summer camp that final week before school. And I had started taking my new prescription and I was just out of it like most of this week. I guess my body and mind just adjusting to that prescription. So I had like a ton of fatigue and nausea. We ended up doing like a koala crate and it felt like the Manhattan Project. Like, I was just like, everything was a struggle for me, reading the instructions, putting together like glue, tape, pasting, cutting. It was just it was a disaster. We ended up watching Migration. I don't know if I ever talked about Migration. I think it was on Peacock, but basically, family of ducks. They have only been in their one pond. They haven't ventured ever beyond their pond because the father is a bit scared of venturing outside, his comfort zone. And so, basically, I guess a road trip movie, but they're ducks, so they're flying. And so a lot of great moments. Danny DeVito is like the uncle, was it Uncle Ted, Uncle Tom, something like that. So he was hilarious. You had Keegan-Michael Key as the parrot, which was awesome. I think Aquafina was the pigeon, like the one-legged pigeon. And Kumail Nanjiani was the dad duck. I don't know who the mom duck was. Probably should look that up. But that's a good one if you have little ones. That's a good one to watch. I like that a lot. This was around the time that Brie, my daughter, was obsessed with Boss Baby and Cat in the Hat, which we've talked about it before. Cat in the Hat, man, is just an acid trip on steroids. Like, and it feels like it's so not for 6-year-olds, but she loves it. Boss Baby, pretty decent too. And then I had that Blackbird song stuck in my head for so long because they play that a lot. Like, that's their nighttime bedtime song, which I just got done putting my daughter to bed. And I keep singing Five Little Ducks, and I feel like she's aged out of Five Little Ducks. Like, I got to step it up. Like, maybe Blackbird. Maybe I need to move to Blackbird as the bedtime song. My daughter also had her annual physical, and the doctor was like, "You need to eat more vegetables." And I'm just like, no fucking shit, doc. The pediatrician always, without fail, makes you feel like such a deadbeat. Such a POS. Always makes me feel that way. Just like, well, is she eating vegetables? No, of course not. She's 6. Just remember when she was 5 and she wasn't eating vegetables. Remember when she was 4 and she wasn't eating vegetables. Remember when she was 3 and not eating vegetables. Like, she's just, my ex-girlfriend was like, she's like, oh, well, I just bake it into and mix it into stuff that I know my daughter will eat. So muffins, cupcakes, pancakes, like zucchini, because it's indetectable or something like that. I think I got her to come around on carrots, so that's good. But, I like corn. You'd think corn, everyone loves corn, right? How do you not like corn? Doesn't like corn. Loves popcorn, doesn't like regular corn. And then peas, it's like peas don't taste like anything really. Cucumbers, like I'm just like whatever. I don't know. So, this friggin' heat wave. That goddamn heat wave. Take a wild guess how much I owed for a month, 1 month of air conditioning in the month of August. Whatever you're guessing, way wrong and way too low. $431 for a month of air conditioning for a 2-bedroom apartment. That's 1,000 square feet. Oh man, I had it out with PSE&G. Like, just, I've never been that angry on a phone call before. It's like, that's got to be top 3 all time. Maybe the angriest I've been on a phone call, because it was like, I had a deferred payment plan because it's outrageous to pay $430 for air conditioning. So I agreed to a payment plan, and they must have sent me an email reminding me that it's due on this date. I somehow missed it. I thought I had paid for it. I thought I scheduled it for that date. I didn't go through. So then, like, less than 2 weeks later, I go to check in, and it's like, you owe $700. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, what? And they're like, $700, or we turn off your electric and gas and all that energy. And so I ended up calling, and I was just like, what's the deal with this? Why is this happening? Like, I have a deferred payment plan, and it looks like it's gone away. She's like, you violated the terms of the agreement. And because of that, you either have to pay the total sum by this date, by the end of the month, or we shut off your service. And I was just like, but I was on a payment, like, what happened to the payment plan? Can I just get back on it? Can't I just pay you what I was supposed to pay on that date 2 weeks earlier, and we can get back on the payment plan? She goes, no, you have to have a new payment plan now. And I'm like, what? Okay. So she gives me the terms of the new payment plan. And of course, it's 1,000 times worse. And I'm like, can you be a human for a second? I thought I paid it. I didn't. And it's not like I missed it by a full 30 days. I just caught it just now, like 15 days later, 2 weeks later. I can literally pay it right now. Like, I can pay what that amount was owed on that date. I can pay it right now. And I was having none of it. And she was like, you can call assistance at 211 or something like that. And I was just, it escalated quickly. So what I ended up doing was paying, like, I think I paid like $50 a day for the next 2 weeks or something like that. I was just like, I'm going to nickel and dime you to death. Do you want to be that way? I'm just going to do this. And then I'm going to make it really interesting. Like, is he going to do it? Is he going to make it? Can you imagine if I failed to pay the last $50 of the $700 owed by that date, and they turned off the energy, and they're the only game in town. Like, there's no other energy company that I'm aware of in the area that I can get. And it's not even my decision. It's because I'm renting, the apartment building probably has a deal with PSE&G because they're the only friggin' deal in town. Fucking monopoly. But we care about our customers. We care. That's all. Every email I ever see is like, we care about our customers. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Because you could have made an exception right there. We could have got right back on track, and I would have scheduled it out like I should have. But so, woof. So it's like, I basically went most of the fall, September, October into November, like no heat, no air conditioning. I was like, I won't give you the satisfaction. And I will suffer for it, but I won't care because I'm not going to have to owe you money. My daughter was like, what? Is this a game? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? You're holding a grudge. Cool. So, we went to the library. I went to the Princeton Library with my daughter for the first time, which was interesting. We played chess, and she lost her marbles. I'm trying to teach her chess. Which, the fact that she wanted to play chess, I think because she saw it in an episode of Bluey, she was like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to try this because smart people, I can't even do the Aussie accent. Smart people. No, that's not it. Smart people play chess. So she's like, I want to be smart. And I'm like, oh, cool. She's pretty good at it, but man, does she get frustrated just like her mama. Kept getting mad at me because I kept winning. And it's like, Neal, you got to let her win, which is what they told me, what my ex told me when we were dating. And then I would try to let her win. She was like, you don't make it so obvious. And I'm like, okay, I have to now practice at being bad in a real, genuine way. But I was trying to teach her, and she just wasn't having it. She started making up her own rules. Like, she does it with tic-tac-toe. She's just like, oh, and this is oh, you can't do that yet. I can do this now. I can do this. And it's just like, I don't think that's going to work in a regulated standard regulation organization or league. And then she just started chucking pieces. And I'm like, all right, we gotta go. We gotta go. One kid got waffled. Oh my God. I was like, I'm going to take a seat and just observe. I'm going to let her kind of wander. I'll keep her in my eyesight. And then I'm just going to take in the show because it was, no one's in school at that point. It's the last week of summer. And so there's just kids just running around like crazy. And I guess like, I don't think I could have, my reaction time wasn't that great, but I don't think I could have stopped or prevented this or even like yelled or something. It was just like one kid taking off, going that way, and another kid trying to turn the corner or like, running away from someone and not looking where they're going and turning and just whack, waffled. And I was just like, ooh, like, I feel like, what was it? NFL primetime, with Boomer and Tom Jackson, like, you just got jacked up. Library's a good place to hang though. It's a good place. I need to go there more often with her because like, they have a ton of stuff to do. She like was attracted to the anime section. I was like, I think you're a little too young for the anime section. You don't understand what's going on in this here graphic novel. And then, yeah, I'm not going to get to Labor Day. Sorry. But I will talk quickly about Cirque de Paris. So Cirque de Paris, it's a traveling circus show, and they were setting up shop. Well, we saw it every time we drove by the mall, on Route 1 by the mall. You see this huge circus tent, and she was like, of course, she was like, I want to go. I'm like, all right, I'll go. Let's go. So I think it was like the Thursday night before Labor Day weekend. We ended up going, and I am not expecting much. I'm like, this is like a circus. The tent's not that big. It's in the parking lot of a mall. There's no way that this is going to be like high flying, awesome entertainment, jaw dropping shit. And I couldn't be. I'm wrong, dead wrong, because it was awesome. And what's even crazier is like they're all, I think they're all just one big family. Like they're all related as a brother or sister or mother or father or grandfather, grandmother. Like, I'm sure there were some people that weren't blood related, but it was like, you could tell they were just a family. And what was even more interesting is like, not only are their performers performing, they work concessions. So like when we walk in, the lady takes my ticket, and these two guys show me to our, say, okay, where's your ticket? And like, okay, sit over there. I sit, and then all of a sudden, the lights go down, the lights come up, and the performers start coming out. I'm like, that's the ticket lady, and that's the popcorn girl, and that's like everyone that was performing. Also, like when there was intermission, they're like, and now we'll have a 15-minute intermission. So we go out to get, a snack or a drink or whatever, and it's like, you were just juggling chainsaws and you were just bouncing on a ball and a skateboard, and they're selling like merch and toys and stuff. So that was wild. It was not cheesy or low budget by any means. I mean, I'm sure it was low budget, but they still made it look incredible. Angela kicked things off with Angelo the clown, who's like, kind of a mime type situation, like a mute, didn't really talk that much, and would, he warmed the crowd up. And then you had a juggler come out who, not exactly perfection. He dropped a bunch of pins, but I think it was not a bad warm up act. And then they had a woman come out, and she lays down on what looked like a baby high chair, or like a gynecologist chair, where it's like with the straps or the boots or the little slots for the legs. And she's laying there. I'm like, what are we about to do here? Are we about to have like a pap smear? And then she takes these circular cloths, almost looks like pizza dough, the guy at the pizza parlor tossing the pizza dough, and she starts tossing them. and she's tossing one on one hand and she's tossing one on the other hand. She's tossing one on a foot and she's tossing one on the other foot. At one point, she had 4 of them going. She might have even had one in her like a stick coming out of her mouth or like on her head, and she was doing it off her head. I think she had like 5 going at once, which was sick. And then they had a couple doing like aerial tricks. Dude, I don't want to say the word erotic, but I just did. It was very sensual. It's like, I don't know, like, what are they called? Silks. You know what I mean? The aerial tricks on the silk cloth where, like, you know, I think if you are someone who follows Creed, when they had the halftime show at Thanksgiving for the Cowboys game, like 2001, they had the jacked guy just flying around on the silks. Like, that's what this couple was doing. And the amount of trust and strength that has to go into that is unbelievable. But I can imagine how hot and passionate that couple must be doing that every night. Like, you know, I don't want to say death defying, but like it's serious injury. You slip up. You know, it's kind of like in action movies or like most movies where it's like a guy and a girl and they're not dating, but like they just met, or maybe they did date and they broke up or they got divorced and now they're forced back together due to the circumstances. And they end up like going through this harrowing experience and it brings them closer. I feel like that's what this couple's going through every friggin' night they perform with these silks. There was a dude who looked like the actor from 40-Year-Old Virgin doing flips on a tightrope. He was the same guy. He was one half of that couple doing the aerial silks. I don't remember the actor's name, but he, like, from 40-Year-Old Virgin, the shaved head, where he loves the soles of women's feet, and he cheats on his girl constantly, and the girl comes in and like confronts him about it, and so then he like defers and deflects to Steve Carell's character, who's like, well, she is a hoe, faux show. Like, he's trying to cover for his friend. That's what that guy looked like. Hard to get out of my head. There was another act. This guy had kind of like he almost looked like a NXT wrestler. Like, he's on the brink of breaking into the WWE with like his outfit and his physique and like his mannerisms. And he did this balancing act on balls and skateboards, like placing a ball down, placing a skateboard on it, placing a ball on that skateboard, ball, skateboard, ball, skateboard, and just like these big tubes, cylinders, balls, skateboards, and balancing on it. Insane stuff. He was awesome. And I don't know if people just got tired, but it was like, that was one of the most impressive acts of the night, where it's like, I can't imagine anyone getting close to trying that and succeeding. And he got kind of like lukewarm applause. I was just like, oh man, I feel for you, dude. I don't know why people are not into this, but I commend you, my guy. In order to give the performers like little breaks, they have the older performers come out to do, like, clowns come out and they like entertain the crowd. So they did they picked 5 kids from the crowd to put on like an air rock show, right? So they don't have actual instruments. They just are told, like, you have an air guitar, you have air drums, you have an air triangle, whatever. And so the kid that they got to play the air guitar, I don't think he's ever seen someone playing a guitar, because it looked like he was having a full-on seizure. I was like, what? Oh, he doesn't know does he know what a guitar is? And if he does, he has never seen anyone play a guitar, because that is not close to an air guitar. There was a hula hoop woman who at one point, she had to be my age or older, maybe a little bit older. And that also was a bit provocative. It was just like, oh, okay, this is getting interesting. She was doing, at one point she had to be like 100 hula hoops. It was bonkers. The couple So the woman who did the cloths with her limbs and spun them, and then the skateboard, the guy bouncing on the skateboard guy, they got together and they were in roller skates and on this little platform, circular platform that was, I mean, you know, those mini trampolines, maybe the size of a mini trampoline, and they're doing like all kinds of unreal tricks on them. Where at one point he has to put like he puts like this kind of collar around her, but it's attached to his waist or something. And so it goes around her neck. And then he's literally skating around so fast that she is flying around so that she's parallel to the ground. With just this, like this, it's not even a collar that's like locked or cinched or anything like that. It's just, she's just basically, he's got to be telling her, just, you know, you hold your head back. And that's how you're going to not go flying into the audience. There was a queen, a really nasty, gross, disgusting part of the show where it was like a piece of theater where there are these bees and there's a queen bee and they just kept spitting water on each other. And I was like, this is gross. No, thank you. I think I'd have to pass on that. I don't care if I'm getting free peanuts. Angelo, the clown, he did this like flying table trick. He picked one of these teens. They had these like group of teen boys that took up way too much space, were taking other people's seats, blocking entrances, exits, you know, pathways. And I kind of like, they were just in my periph the whole time. So I just noticed what they were doing. They didn't clap for shit. And I get it. Like, I was a teen boy once, like, you know, nothing is cool. Everything is lame. I get it. They didn't clap for anything. And then one of them gets picked by Angelo the clown for this flying table trick or whatever. And they went bananas, just ape. And, you know, of course, like getting their phone out and like, you know, everyone's got their phones out and they're all like Snapchatting or whatever. And they went nuts. And it was just like, I mean, the performers are risking life and limb, their livelihood, and you don't raise a finger. And then one of your boys gets picked for like a legitimately one of the more boring, stupid, lame tricks, flying table trick, and they creamed their shorts. They did the one guy who didn't really do a ton of performances. He must be more of a senior type level guy. He was just kind of assisting, kind of on the fringe and helping out and being supportive. He then comes on and he does the most unbelievable laser show. I mean, not that I've gone to a ton of laser shows, but I've seen laser shows, and it was so sick. It was so amazing. To the point where I was like, I was lost. I got lost in the sauce. I went to another realm. I went to another dimension watching this laser show. I wish I was on drugs, and I'm pretty sure my daughter is like hardcore into EDM now from that show. Just like interactive, the timing, the choreography, the music. It was like it literally, and you know, you forget that you're just in this like small tent in the parking lot of a mall. It's just like I was in another world. So I ended up getting her a light up toy that spins, which was a recipe for disaster, and popcorn that I ate way too much of, and was definitely had some kind of airborne disease on it. It was like not the best quality popcorn. But yeah, so if you ever have Cirque de Paris come to town, definitely give it a look-see. It's worth the price of admission, but for sure. I think it was like $20 each. Maybe it might have been 12 for the kiddo. Probably less than that. And I mean, you know, as someone who used to have to do bringers for stand-up comedy and everyone had to pay $20 a head to watch 10 amateur comedians absolutely bomb and crash for almost 2 hours straight. Yeah, this is a friggin' bargain. So what happened over Labor Day weekend in Block Island? What was the crushing revelation that and not an epiphany, but just a revelation, something that happened on that beach that I will never forget, and that completely opened my eyes and changed my worldview, changed my view of myself. And that's what we'll get to next episode. Yeah, cliffhanger, bitches. That's a tease right there. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Errors and omissions from the previous episode, if I feel like it. I mean, I mentioned that I was, I'll finish with this. I mentioned that I was drinking peppermint schnapps last night. I'm kind of delving back into the peppermint schnapps again tonight. I don't drink it that often. And you know what? I think I got to drink it like all of December. That's got to be I'm solely, exclusively peppermint schnapps. And I don't know why I don't do it more often, because it feels like a once every 4 or 5 years, 10 years type drink historically for me. And I don't know why I don't do it every night of December. It's just, it's so good. Like, we did it at Giants tailgate before the Giants Chiefs game in 2005, where Tiki goes off. It was him versus Larry Johnson to see who could get to 2,000 yards and get them be the MVP of the league and stuff like that. And so we did like peppermint schnapps with the hot cocoa. Oh, that is chef's kielsch. Another time I did it, I think I talked about this, was with my then girlfriend, 2006, down in Nashville. We went to a Vanderbilt game and then went out to the bars afterwards. And I think we actually signed our name on they allowed you to either sign your name or carve your name. I think it's sign your name on the bar counter there. Would love to know if it's still there. Probably not. And then the last time was, and I hate to bring this up again because I don't want it to seem like I'm dancing on her grave or like rubbing it in or anything like that. But if you listen to my high school reunion episode, there's a girl who she came to visit me down at the shore, and I remember we had kind of hung out like years before. It feels like every 10 years we get together. 10 years before, around 10 years before, we got together down at the shore, and seemed like a fun time. Didn't pick up on something that time. Then the next time she came down the shore and we hung out, it was like, oh, there's some kind of aroma, some kind of smell going on here. And I couldn't quite pick up on it. I was like, and I kept saying, do you smell that? Do you smell that? And she would be like, oh, no, I don't smell anything. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Because when you go to the bathroom, I don't smell it anymore. And then when you come back, I smell it again. And so I think she has a dead tooth. I think she has if you ever watch Always Sunny, Dennis ends up getting back together with a girl that he went to high school with. Oh, what is her name? Fuck. It's like Pomodoro. Something Pomodoro, Stacy Pomodoro, something like that. And he's like, oh, my dream girl. I always wanted to hook up with her. And then he finds out that she has a dead tooth. And he's like, I'm not going to let it bother me. And of course, it lets him bother him. And the same thing happened to me. It was like, I'm going to get past this. And how am I going to get past it? We're going to do shots. You want to do shots? Cool. Peppermint schnapps. Do you like peppermint schnapps? It's like basically we're doing shots of mouthwash. we're gonna try and mask that stench real quick. So, and I don't know that I've really had peppermint schnapps since then, which is a crime in and of itself. So Decembers are going to be memorable and peppermint schnapps only up in the club during the holiday month. So we still got September, October, and November to get through. Holy crap. September, tested positive for COVID. Riverfest pork roll eating championship. October was just pretty much Mets postseason baseball mixed with being sick, Halloween preparations. November had the Princeton Cornell game. What I thought to be like a nuclear bomb or a terrorist attack or an alien invasion turns out wasn't. Well, it's another cliffhanger. Was it? and then Thanksgiving. So hopefully get through all that before the holiday break. Don't hold your motherfucking breath. So with that, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.